Harihi Om Sarvagurubhyo Namaha. Shanno Mitra Shamvarunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanno Indra Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Pratham Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. This is a couple from different parts. First part is from the Rig Veda. The rest is all from scattered around in Krishna Yajurveda. So all this is also used as a standard Shanti mantra for all the Upanishads coming from Krishna Yajurveda, like the Taittiriya Upanishad, Kathopanishad, like that. Nyastatmiya param varapradagurau vairagya bhakyo dadau vedanta Shri Srinivasat guroho Shri Shailanmaya Kaustubhasya Tanayam Shreyo Nide Shri Nidehe Vande Sadhu Katakshakeli Nilayam Shri Krishna Saddeshikam Gita Sugita Kartavya Kimanyai Shastra Vistaraihi Yasvayam Padmanabhasya Mukhapadmat Vinisrita Malanirmochanam Pumsam Jalasnanam Dine Dine Sakrit Gitam Vasisnanam Samsara Malanashanam. So we are starting today chapter 5. Chapter 5 also a little bit confusing for Arjuna, the first question as we see. Chapter 2 was like that, mix of Sankhya and Karma Yoga, so that caused him some confusion. And second chapter ended with a lot of emphasis on Gnana, Sankhya, because Sita Prajna, that kind of thing. So chapter 3 he asked. But chapter 3 was a straight message, straight arrow. There was no confusion. Chapter 4 again kind of little bit, although it's actually called, chapter 3 is called Karma Yoga. It was all focused on Karma Yoga. Chapter 4 is Gnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So it is wisdom in action. So actually, as I was saying, some people call this yoga as Gnana Yoga itself. So that kind of caused Arjuna again confusion. And in fact, chapter 4 also stressed that Samshayatma Vinashyati. So don't have any doubts, that is not good. So Arjuna probably picked up on that one, and he expressed doubt again because the mixed message of chapter 4, it was, although the emphasis was Karma Yoga there also, but it was laced with wisdom. Why you have to be like that? It shows wisdom in action. Arjuna Uvacha, this Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punar Yogam Shamsasi Yatsreya Etayorekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam. This says, Krishna, you're talking about, you're praising sannyasa and also karma yoga. So tell me for certain, so tell me without any doubt, which one is good? Sunishchitam, for definite, ekam. Which one is better? Etayoho ekam. Eti shreyaha. Which is better between the two, between the sannyasa and karma yoga. Here using the word sannyasa, but as we proceed, we see that sannyasa means here basically Sankhya yoga. So the Krishna, you praise sannyasa and also karma yoga. Tell me for certain which one is better of the two. So Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna
Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna
Punaryogam cha samsasi
Punaryogam cha shamsasi
Yatshreya etayorekam
Yachreya etayorekam
Tanme bruhi sunischitam.
Tanme bruhi sunishchitam.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Krishna answers, Sanyasam karma yogascha nishreya sakara ubhau tayostu karma sanyasat karma yogo vishishyate. He says, of course, both sannyasa and karma yoga uh, lead to matchless nishreya sakara ubhau. Both of them lead to matchless bliss. But of the two, taya astu, karma sannyasat, karma yoga, rather than leaving up karma sannyasa is used. Arjuna just says sannyasa, he emphasized here karma sannyasat. Between karma sannyasa, karma yoga is better. Between sannyasa, yoga is better of the two, he's telling. Although both of them lead to matchless bliss of the two, because Arjuna asked which is better, he stressed that karma yoga is better. Because if we think about it, work is a prerequisite. Without working, how can you have karma sannyasa? Cannot. So work is the prerequisite for karma yoga. Detachment is also prerequisite to sannyasa, but in a way, both of them are detachment. It is easier to work and progress on the path of karma yoga. The path of detachment easily drifts towards laziness rather than realization. Um, when we are engaged in action, it is a lot easier to focus. When we are just sitting around, we may have detachment for detachment itself. The mind wanders around and we get distracted. It is especially when we are leading life in a regular society, not seclude somewhere sitting on the top of Himalayan mountain or some mountain range. Um, there is lot of opportunities for distraction. Right? Sri Bhagavan
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Sannyasa Karma Yogascha
सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च
Nishreyasakara Ubhau
निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat
तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात्
Karma Yogo Vishishyate.
कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते.
Then he talks about, elaborates further on that. Deyaha sa nitya sannyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati. Nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukam bandhat pramuchyate. Says that. So no, you should know that a true sannyasi, nitya sannyasi, is one who neither hates, na dveshti, na kankshati, not desires anything. So he is irrespective of the situation. Irdvando he, Mahabaho. So such a person, or Jana Mahabaha, free from duality. He is free from duality. He is free from Sukham Bandhat Pramuchyate. He is free, he is liberated from bondage. So a true sannyasi is one who neither hates nor desires anything, irrespective of the situation. He is freed from duality. Um, so he is free from bondage. Gneyas nitya sannyasi
ज्ञेयः सन्नित्यसन्न्यासी
yo na dveshti na kankshati
यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति
nirdvandvo hi mahabaho
निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो
sukham bandhat pramuchyate.
सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते.
So now he says that both are basically same. Sankhya yoga prithak balaha pravadanti na panditaha ekamasyastita samyak Ubhayor vindate phalam. So balaha, it is the immature people who think that prithak, they think Sankhya and yoga, or Sankhya and karma yoga and jnana yoga are different. Prithak, they think like that. But na panditaha na pravadanti. Wise do not think like that. It is only the immature or ignorant, balaha, ignorant, it is they think like that because one who is ekamapyastita samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. So when you cling to any one of them earnestly, one who earnestly pursues either of them will reap the benefits of both. The both lead to the same goal. If you earnestly stick to one instead of wandering from one to the other, um, you you reap the same kind of benefit. So they are not different according to Panditas. This always happens even when you're standing in uh, checkout lines in Kroger. The line we are not in seems to be move faster. Then we go there, then actually this line moves faster. So same way here also you can get, if you stick to one, actually you can accomplish it much easily. Otherwise you'll be wandering between this and that. So the same thing is here. Sankhya yoga pritak balaha
साङ्ख्ययोगौ पृथक् बालाः
pravadanti na panditaha
प्रवदन्ति न पण्डिताः
ekamapyasthita samyak
एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यत्
ubhayor vindate phalam.
उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्.
He basically continues the same message. Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sankhencha yogancha yah pashyati sa pashyati. So whatever yate sankyate sthanam prapyate, yat sankhyaih sthanam prapyate, tat yogairapi gamyate. I like the word prapyate versus gamyate. So because in the case of yoga, you're actually moving, karma. The Sankhya, you're thinking. So it will be a prapti for you in Sankhya. In yoga, you walk up to it, you reach it. It's kind of interesting the word used. Prapyate, sthanam versus gamyate. So ekam sankhencha yogancha. So both are same. Uh, I mean, the one who sees yaha pashyati, one who sees ekam as sankyam and yogam as ekam, sa pashyati. He is truly sees. He truly understands. One who sees them as same, he is the one who truly understands that. So what one attains by through sankhya, another attains through yoga. Another walks up to it or gains by yoga. One who sees the two paths have the same goal, indeed, that person knows the truth. See, Pashyati means he is the one who sees. Yat Sankhe prapyate sthanam
यत्स्याङ्ख्यै प्राप्यते स्थानं
tad yogairapi gamyate
तद्योगैरपि गम्यते.
ekam sankhyan cha yogan cha
एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च
yah pashyati sapashyati.
यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
So even here, a lot of time, both of the different students want to go to medical school, but not all of them able to get in the same place or in the same town. Uh, Sometimes some people have to go to India or Caribbean or Mexico, different places. That is little bit like, but their goal is same, and eventually both of them come back here. Uh, that is in a way that someone was able to get it more closely. That is someone like a prapyate for him. The other person has to travel to get it, gamyate. So the goal is same. It is it's only people who are not aware because they go to the same training. Some people are telling that, oh, it was going in USA or in this school was better than going to Grenada or some other place. But at the end of the game, uh, it ends up with the same. It really doesn't matter. So it's actually childish for some parents to quarrel that my child went to this and your child had to cross oceans to go somewhere else. Sankhya prapyate sthanam
ओके यत्साङ्ख्यते प्राप्यते स्थानं
तद्योगैरपि गम्यते
तद्योगैरपि गम्यते.
एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च
एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च
Yah pashyati sapashyati.
यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
The goal is more important, right? One who had to go out of country has to travel a lot, does more karma for the same thing. Okay, now further that sannyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptamayogataha yoga yukto muni brahma nachire nadi gacchati. So he says that Mahabaho Arjuna trying to use the Sankhya or sannyasa part, it's difficult to achieve sannyasa because by simply avoiding work, is dukkha maptamayogataha. It is difficult to achieve sannyasa by simply avoiding work. That alone is not sufficient. Um, but one who works with diligence, yoga yukto Brahma, with diligence, readily attains supreme bliss. Nachirenadi gachati. So such a person who indulges in action can get the fruit more readily. Because as he pointed out earlier itself, sannyasa can be drifting, the mind can be drifting. So it's difficult to achieve sannyasa by simply avoid, that alone is not sufficient. He also told that in chapter 3, right? If you are not doing anything, that is not sannyasa. It is only hypocrisy, thinking that you are not doing anything. So you cannot do that sannyasa by simply avoiding the work. That is not good enough. But one who works with diligence uh, readily attains supreme bliss. Sannyasastu mahabaho
सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो
dukkhamaptumayo gataha
दुःखमाप्तुमयो गतः.
yoga yukto munir brahma
योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्म
nachirenadhi gacchati.
न चिरेणाधिगच्छति.
Next one you see. Continue to yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi na lipyate. So one who acts but still not doesn't do anything is this kind of person who is um, one who has controlled the senses and mastered himself. Vijitatma jitendriya, control the senses. Vijitatma, he has conquered himself, master of himself. He is steadfast, yoga yukta. He is steadfast in the yoga. And such a person, uh, sarva bhutatma bhutatma, relates to every other person. He relates to every other being like himself. So he is pure. He is vishuddhatma within and not tainted. Kurvanapi na lipyate. As a person is not tainted or has any kind of bondage, even when he acts, such a person. The one who controls his senses and masters himself, Viditatma, is steadfast yoga yukta in yoga. He relates to everyone, sarva bhutatma to himself. He is pure, vishuddhatma. Then with and when he does that, kurvan api, even if he acts, it doesn't taint him. Na lipyate. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma
योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा
vijitatma chitendriya
विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः
sarvabhutatma bhutatma
सर्वभूतात्मभूतात्मा
kurvannapi na lipyate.
कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते.
So then in next two verses, he talks about how uh, different things he does, but he just thinks that it is those organs acting, and he's not doing anything like that. So he thinks naiva kinchit karomi naiva chintit karo. I am not doing anything. That is how person who yukto manyase tattvavit. One who knows that tattvadarshi understand that he's not doing anything. So when all these things happen, passion, like when he looks at something, or uh, all those different activities, Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, uh, Swapan, Shwasan, all those different things. So all those different actors, the Pashyan is observing, Shrinvan is listening, Sprishan is touching, Jigran is smelling, Ashnan is eating, Gachan is going around, Swapan is sleeping, Shwasan is breathing. Shwasa question. Doing all those things, it continues. So in all these things, this person is thinking, I am not doing anything. He said, all these things are happening. It's my eye is seeing, my nose is smelling like that. He thinks. Naiva kinchit karomiti
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति
yukto manyeta tattvavit
युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववेत्
pasyan shrinman sprishan jignan
पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन्
ashnan gachan swapan shwasan
अश्नं गच्छन् पशस्
swapan shwasan.
स्वपन् शसन्.
Yes. It's very difficult to say that if you are sleeping. Swapan.
That's a tough one. It's a good combination, yeah.
It continues. Pralapan visrijan grihnan unmishan nimishan api indriyani indriyarteshu vartanta iti dharayan. Here is saying Pralapan is talking, then visrijan is excreting, letting go, discharging, releasing. Krishnan holding something. Unmishan. Unmishan is opening the eyes. Nimishan, closing the eyes. Nimishan, api. Also during closing the eyes, he thinks that indriyani indriyarteshu, it is senses working in accordance with the sensates. So thinking like that, it is dharayan. That's what is happening. So he is not doing anything. It is simply the interplay of senses and sense organs with the sense interaction of senses with sensates or objects of sense. Pralapan, Visrijan, Krishnan,
प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन्
Unmishan, Nimishan, Api, Unmishan,
उन्मिषन्
Nimishan, Api,
निमिषन्नपि उन्मिषन्
Indriyani,
निमिषन्नपि
Indriyartheshu.
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु.
That is your name, Indira. Indriyani, Indriyartheshu, Vartanta
इन्द्रियाणि
iti dharayan.
वर्तन्त इति धारयन्.
Okay, so that is that's how he says it. Just the organs doing their job. I'm just there like that. He's not impacted by them. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangham tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate na sa papena padma patramivambhasa. It's one of the beautiful shlokas. See, Brahmani adhaya karmani. Bring Brahman as the foremost. Bring that, dedicate to Brahman. Brahmani Adaya Karmani is one who acts dedicating it to the Supreme and acts without any attachment. On Karoti, Yaha Karoti, Brahmani Adaya Karmani. For all actions dedicating to the Supreme, or I consider call it as bringing supreme purpose to everything we do. That is what dedicating to the Supreme means. Once we bring supreme purpose to everything, we also think, oh, it's very important. So there's more attachment. Sangam tyaktva karoti saha. You're not attached to it. Just bring supreme purpose, dedicated to the Supreme, and act without attachment. For such a person, lipyate nasapapena. There is no blemish, nothing gets tainted, just like Padma Patra Vivambasa, just like a lotus uh, even soaked in water doesn't get wetted by water, right? So just as water does not stick to the lotus leaf, sin, papa is sin, that guilt does not stick to a person who works unattached, without attached, and dedicate to work to the Supreme. So Brahmani Adhaya Karmani, bring dedicated foremost to the Supreme then act without attachment, then just like lotus is not wetted by water, like that, this person is also not tainted, no sin or no guilt. Um, Brahmanyadhaya karmani
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि
sangam tyaktva karoti yaha
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः
lipyate na sapapena
लिप्यते न स पापेन
padmapatramimam
पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा.
lot of time for us, oh, I'm doing very not a great work, just a silly work, a insignificant work like that, we think. But we have to realize anything we do, when we dedicate it to the Supreme, that means we are bringing a supreme purpose to that. Um, that is the secret of action. One who works without selfish motives and the humility of dedication to the Supreme, uh, such a person is also enjoys what that person is doing. No work in this world is ordinary or simple. Only some ordinary people are there. That's all. So everything is, it brings a supreme purpose to the work. That's why a lot of people give example of someone chiseling the stone. He may think of himself as just a chiseler, but that stone is being used for bringing either building a temple or a hospital or an airport or something like that, some bigger purpose. Everything we do has a bigger purpose. So it's kind of similar, kind of a same theme controlled here. Kayena manasa buddhya केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा atmashuddhaye. So giving up attachment, sangam tyaktva, the yogi engages in action. Yoginaha karma kurvanti. Just engaging action with his body, because he need body to do action, senses, mind, and intellect, merely for purifying himself. Engages all those things, kayena, manasa, buddhya, kevaler, indriyairapi. So engages in action with his body, senses, mind, and intellect, merely for purifying himself. So body is a means. Sarira madhyam kalu dharma sadhanam. He said, you need all these things for accomplishment, as an instrument, as a means of that. So when there is absolute focus on the work, there is no craving for rewards. This is self-purification of the highest order, also the ideal of karma yoga. Kayena manasa buddhya
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या
kevala
केवलैरि केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि
yogina karma kurvanti
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति
sangam tyaktva shuddhaye.
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये.
Okay, beautiful. Then yukta karma palam tyaktva shantimapnoti naishtiki ayukta kamakarena pale sakto nibhadyate. Then he compares the yogya and ayogya. Here yukta, one who knows that karma palam tyaktva, he lets go the fruit of action and he attains peace. Shantimapnoti naistikim, definitely, steadily, for sure, he attains peace. Whereas ayuktaha, kama karena, opposite to karma palam tyaktva, kama karena, pale saktaha, he is interested in the fruit of action, he gets nibhadyate, he gets bound, he gets entangled by it. Endowed with determination, a man of poise doesn't care for rewards and attains lasting peace. Driven by selfish desire, kama karena, uh, a man who lacks self-control, he craves for rewards. He's ayuktaha, craves for rewards, and lives in bondage. Yukta karma palam tyaktva
युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा
shantimapnoti naishtikim.
शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम्
अयुक्तः कामकारेण
अयुक्तः कामकारेण
फले सक्तो निबध्यते.
फले सक्तो निबध्यते
Then सर्वकर्माणि मनसा संन्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशि नवद्वारे पुरे देहि naiva kurvan na karayan. The same before we talked about different sense organs doing the work. It's kind of a same thing. Uh, Manasa sarvakarmani sanyasaste, sanyasyaste, surrendering, mentally renouncing all action. Okay, okay. The inner master, she acts, right? It lives happily. Uh, by how it lives, by thinking that what is it, where does he live happily? In this city. If our body is considered as a city, Navadvare Pure, our body is considered as a city of 9 gates. So by neither acting nor causing action, the indwelling, um, the inner master lives happily, that is in the city of 9 gates, neither acting nor causing action. This is talking about how God, she is the God living within us, or the soul. This is mentally renouncing all actions. That that the master lives inside in the city of nine gates, neither acting nor causes, not causing action. Right. So this is body is considered a city of 9 gates. All they being the 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the 2 nostrils, mouth, genital organs, in the anus. Alternatively, the 9 gates are the 5 senses: intellect, mind, conscience, and ego. I think I like but those are actually more powerful gates. These gates are needed for body to just to be body. The other ones are the ones which cause a lot more problem. So if we have those things under control, the senses under control, and our inner faculties under control, then you are in peace. You are in happy. Like that. Sarvakarmani manasa
सर्वकर्माणि मनसा
sanyasyaste sukham vashi
सन्न्यस्त सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी
navadvare pure dehi
नवद्वारे पुरे देहि
naiva kurvan nakarayan.
नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन्
Some people when they put the kankan, when we find the Rocky, some people put 9 knots to that, like kind of nine, controlling the 9 gates like that, or the 9 things. Even though 2 knots will hold the uh, Rocky tight. न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते. So here it talks about God. Uh, God does not command people to act. God does not create actions, create activities or associated rewards. All this arise from nature. So everything uh, is impelled by the nature. It is not uh, nature itself is part of coming from the creation. So um, it is not directly from God. Uh, it is the surrounding. It is the prakriti which makes us to act. Right. So God does not command people to act. Na kartrutvam na karmani. No, not act or not the work. No kartrutvam na karmani. Srijati Prabhu refers to the Lokasya Srijati Prabhu refers to the master, the God. Um, but also not only that, not even associates any rewards that come from work. Doesn't determine that either. All this sabhavastu pravartate. All this comes from nature. Nakartatvam nakarmani
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि
lokasya srijati prabhu
लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः
nakarma phala sanyogam
न कर्मफलसंयोगम्
स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
Here, the nature includes everything, the material nature as well as our own nature. These are the two things, our own nature involving with the material nature, how we create lot of actions. If you just take, for example, there are more materials here. When I left India in 1970s, India was shortage of materials. It was not considered as a material world. Everything was uh, shortage of everything. Even to get one Vespa scooter, you have to wait for 15 years. People would put 500 rupees deposit. Only Comtes were able to throw away that kind of money. So they will go and deposit even when the child is in the womb itself, and it takes 20 years for them to get that Vespa or scooter, and then they sell it for higher price. They made some money. So materials were less. But when we come here, our activities also increase for the same person because there are so many things around for so many things to do. So those are all. That's why I said it comes from our own nature as well as what is around us. Both it refers to both material nature around us and our own nature. Those two make us act. Na kartrutvam na karmani
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि
lokasya srijati prabhu
लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः
na karma pala sanyogam
न कर्मफलसंयोगम्
स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
This is also a beautiful. Nadatte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukritam vibuhu ajnanenavritam gnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. That is God. That te kasyachit papam. God is not responsible for good or evil. No sukritam, no papam. Vibhuhu is not responsible for anyone's uh, good or evil. No papam, no sukritam. God is not responsible for that. But why we always, lot of people say God is responsible because agnanena avritam gnanam, because when wisdom is shielded by agnana, when wisdom is clouded by lack of wisdom, then all people think like that because people are deluded, they blame it on God, right? God is not responsible for good or evil in this world. Nadate kasyachit papam nachaiva sukritam. Vibhuhu doesn't do that. God doesn't do that. People are deluded because their knowledge is clouded by ignorance. Agnanena avritam gnanam. That is why mushyanti tena mushyanti jantavaha. So they are confused because of that. Lot of time we blame God for our own things, our own acts, which was driven by our inner nature and whatever was around us. This is an interesting uh, verse. When 9/11 happened, uh, we had an interfaith discussion and our different religious people coming, and everyone was asking, why does God does like this? Why does God make this happen? That is what they were all asking. Obviously, they have not read this verse. Um, so if they had read this verse, they will say it is not God, it is us, people doing for their own nature and interacting with the whatever nature they had around. Obviously, there was no jet. The same people would not have flown the jets because jets were there and they got trained and indulged in that kind of a crime. So it is God was not responsible for that. It's also like we have Kings Island, we have Ford. We cannot blame Ford for if someone has drunken driving and hits a tree and kills people. Of course, Ford put car on American street at first. We cannot blame Ford for that. Same way, all this infrastructure, someone who put it together, if someone doesn't do bad things on that and gets hurt, you cannot blame the person who who created those things. Same way, we should not blame God for these things. Nadate kasyachit papam
नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम्
न चैव सुकृतं विभुः
न चैव सुकृतं विभुः
अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं
अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं
तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः.
तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः.
Yeah, to if I had too much to drink and lost balance, I should not blame the person who discovered beer. It is not his fault. It is my fault. It's my mistake. I've never gotten drunk, so I'm just actually I have once or twice when I was in safe situation, not under not while driving. ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानम् येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषाम् आदित्यवज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम्. But for those who are gotten away the delusion, for those who have destroyed ignorance using knowledge, they have nashitam atmanaha. They have with the gnanam, they have destroyed ignorance through knowledge. That same knowledge now, which was hidden in other people, was shadowed by agnanam in agnanis. It like the shining sun illuminates the supreme within. Prakashayati tatparam. That it illuminates that once that whatever was obscuring the knowledge is removed, now the knowledge itself reveals the supreme within, illuminates the supreme within. So it's always there. It was just clouded by ignorance. If you say me on a very cloudy day, when the clouds are gone, the whole sky looks highly illuminated. So even the cloud may not, even the sky may not be clouded, but when we have a lot of agnanam, we are clouded by that. We are exactly like the sky, which is overtaken by clouds. But at least that cloud leads to rain. Our our ignorance doesn't lead to anything. Nane tu tadagnanam
ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानम्
yesham nashitamatmanaha
येषां नाशितमात्मनः
teshamadityavatgnanam
तेषामादित्यवज्ञानम्
prakashayati tatparam.
प्रकाशयति तत्परम्.
Okay, this is continuous later. तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः तन्निष्ठा सत्परायणाः गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिं ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः. So such people with thoughts absorbed in that, with the self immersed in that, with faith in that, and finding fulfillment in that, a self-realized person attains liberation. Here, that refers to the supreme within. The supreme is in every one of us, recognizing that with our thought, the supreme thoughts, and immersed in that supreme ideas, with faith in that. Of course, you have to believe there is God in us. That is also important. And one finds fulfillment in that. Such a self-realized person attains liberation. Gacchante na punaravrittim. That a person, nana nirdhuta kalmashaha, because of cleared of all blemishes by focusing on the supreme one who is within. Tilek Mandir Hai, that's why they say that God is residing right within us. It's so close that we ignore to see. Sometimes we cannot see our own shadow, kind of things. So we cannot see what is right there. They always give a anecdote of this person was carrying a very valuable gem, traveling in train, traveling to from Bangalore to Salem. A lot of people think a lot of theft happens in the train. So what he did was um, he kept the fine jewel in the pillow of the person sleeping next to him. Uh, it was not in his pillow at all, like that. So the other person, whoever was trying to rob him, was trying to look under his pillow because he had seen him carry the gem in his hand. So he did not keep in his pillow. The thief was watching him. So he put it in somebody else's pillow. So we don't see. Uh, in his own pillow he had put, but he did not see that. As he got up and he picked it back from his pillow. This is the uh, pillow they were giving in the train. So तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः
तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः
तन्निष्ठा तत्परायणाः
तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः
गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिम्
गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिम्
ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः.
ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः.
Okay, so maybe we'll stop here. It's a beautiful shloka comes. We'll start it tomorrow, and I will open it up for words of wisdom from Hari and any question on this chapter. And just one thing I like to mention is anytime we hear Sankhya in Bhagavad Gita, we should not immediately learn to Sankhya philosophy. Because Krishna, it is used in different senses here. Um, and Krishna is not a Ekapatni Vrata. So he takes ideas from different schools and he doesn't even exactly clings to them completely. Okay, so when he uses the words, we should just take it the way it is explained in Gita itself. And if you are an expert of Sankhya philosophy, you may see some of these things confusing if you apply that to here. Okay, thank you. So Hari, please.
Nothing much to add, actually. It's very clear. Especially, I think, with the verse on God is not responsible for things that humans do.
Mhm.
It's quite a revelation for a lot of people, that verse.
Mhm.
Although it is like it appears as common sense, but when we see it in a work, authoritative work like Bhagavad Gita, it has a lot of value.
Hmm. Yeah, that is especially we fatalistic. We say everything Devaru, God is taking care of everything. Leave it everything to God. Um, because Krishna himself says, right? Ananyas chintayanto mam vejana paryupasate teshan nityavektanam yogakshemam vahamyam. He says that I take care of it. But I look at it more like when you wear a helmet, it doesn't prevent you from accident. You still fall down. It just protects you. It gives you some kind of a faith, some kind of a confidence. Just because we take that, it doesn't let just because we take an insurance policy, it doesn't mean that something bad doesn't happen. It's not covered like that, right? So it gives you some kind of a protection. That is what faith, having that completely surrender to Supreme, and you can handle whatever didn't happen much better when you have that kind of a uh, faith, uh, dedication.
Sri Krishna, this is Sri Rama.
Oh, hi, Sri Rama. Hmm.
Today is Sunday, so I'm joining, so it doesn't conflict. So the I know it's very difficult to put in the position of somebody who is self-realized, whether it is Ramana Maharshi
Hmm.
or whether it is Chinmayananda or any person like that.
Hmm.
So the thing is that when they do the things, organize something. Chinmayananda, for example, he organized a lot of things, for the welfare of the people. So, from what point of perspective, rather, they do it? I mean, we say God is not doing it, and God is in us, and to a higher level, we are the God because we're not the body, we're not the mind, we're not the intellect. We did that one of the things before. So, what perspective they must be doing these actions, these organizations, these anything they do for the welfare of the people? They,
Well, action everyone does, right? So it is for the welfare. Uh, that's what the Loka Sangraha. They have a goal for a bigger purpose they are doing. Everyone has, of course, Chinmayananda, when he arranges the meeting, he wants it to be successful. Um, it is not a selfish desire, right? It's the bigger purpose, bigger.
So he is doing it as Chinmayananda, the form is organizing it, or the Chinmayananda, the Brahman organizing it, and then how does it kind of, it's very, I know it's very difficult to um, place ourselves in that perspective and then start thinking what perspective, but I always wondered what would be their perspective.
The perspective would be Loka Sangraha, right? Something more
Yeah,
beneficial,
that is the
doing good
goal.
for the world, doing good, uh, being good for goodness sake. What can be to promote something good in the world, right? That's kind of
That,
it. That's why I said all of us are little avatars. It is we
no,
are
I mean,
energized.
yeah, I agree, but I may be doing something, say I may be helping somebody. That is good for helping somebody, whatever. But I still, in my ignorance or not being self-realized, not with the experience of self-realization, I'm still doing that good act from the perspective of Sri Rama doing it. Still, but I'm not gone to the depths of, oh, the Brahman in me is doing it, a Brahman is doing it. I'm still thinking the Sri Rama is doing that noble cause. I still doing that to some extent.
Yeah,
We
so
think,
this
yeah,
is
yeah, go
in
ahead.
the this is exactly what he says in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi that whatever we do it for our sake. We are whether you like your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband, whatever activity you do to help the world, ultimately you're doing it for your own sake. So that's the reality for everybody, for the common people. However, when people realize the higher truth, like the Gita itself, even today, what we saw, a realized person identifies everyone with himself or
Yeah.
herself.
Mm-hmm.
They can relate to the joys and sorrows of other people just as they relate to their own joys and sorrows. So
Correct.
when they have this feeling of oneness with the rest of the world, they feel that they are an instrument to help the world to improve itself.
Mm.
Mm.
So it's also about cultivating that, right? It's not like a overnight somebody become a
No.
jnani.
Right.
So
Right.
as we do the work, when we cultivate that feeling that, well, I happen to be here and I'm doing this, rather than feeling that I am the cause for the upliftment of these people, when we cultivate that attitude over a period of time, I think that has the potential to, get into that state. Because after anybody goes through work like Gita,
Yeah.
theoretically, we all know we are on the same level. We all have the understanding theoretically, but to bring it into practice, it takes effort and
Yeah.
contemplation.
Constant
So,
contemplation. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
So
that
that's
feeling
what
is
I'm
there,
saying.
right? Saha
What?
yajnaha praja srishtva. Gita itself says earlier, everyone has a desire to be to do good, and what we choose to go do good is like Hari noted from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, something which makes us actually. He concluded we love only ourselves, right? We love our own self. We don't love son, wife. This is kind of somebody asked him, "Do you love your wife?" I love my wife. He says, "No, I don't love my. I don't think you love your wife." He says. How did this guru came to know that I love Liber's wife? How did he come to know? He said, it's not like that. He meant that you don't love your neighbor's wife either. You
Mm.
only love them because it makes you happy. The person you are loving is yourself. It's like that. So, um, that's why I think somebody said nobody is wrong in this world. Like even the one who is doing a lot of crime, maybe that person uh, is happy to do that. Very rarely. um, that's why. But when you have some kind of a motivation, some books like that, that makes us to think something to do good.
I think Ashok ji has a question. Ashok ji, can ask.
Hi. What I wanted to bring up here is, like Hariji said in 515th sloka in this chapter, is definitely the good God is not responsible for good and evil in this world, and it is the beings that are deluded because of their knowledge and ignorance. So the actions by every one of us,
Mhm.
whether it is a good or bad or evil, stems from the fact that the level of knowledge and the clarity and the thoughts, our thoughts and our thinking and our actions ultimately. That is very true. But what kind of bring into the perspective here is elsewhere in one of the earlier chapters, in chapter 1 and chapter 2, Krishna talks to Arjuna about when Arjuna talks about killing relatives and friends and family and all that, he goes into this thought of or the idea of it is not you that are acting, you are only an instrument. So, how do we put that and this together? Is my question. When there he talks about the person doing is only an instrument, and it is not Arjuna doing that actually. Is there any?
So I think there is when we look at uh, the verse from the 18th chapter, which talks about the different factors that determine the outcome of action, we see that there is a part of it where we are responsible for an action because there is a karta who is the person performing the action. There is also a part of it which is a chance element. So that is
Unknown.
the
Yeah. Unknown.
what
Yeah.
we call as daivam or the unknown forces. Now, any action, whatever we do, is a combination of these different factors. The person who's doing it, the situation, the resources available, the manner in which the resources are used, and the unknown factors. So, when we do something, if we think that we are the only cause for it, we will be mistaken.
Right.
At the same time, when we do something, if we don't take responsibility for it at all, that is also a problem. So what he's saying in when specifically with regard to the battle is that whether now if Arjuna for whatever reason, let us say he just walked away, the war would still happen. Bhima would still fight and
Yeah.
Yudhishthira would still fight. So by him walking away, he cannot change the reality.
Mhm.
So therefore, if he thinks of himself as being just a tool and participate in the war, it gives him solace. That's all. But the reality is that he is also fighting the war. He is killing the other enemy faction. He is killing Karna and so on. So this is at one level, the practical level of Adibhuta. This is true. However, when you see from a same event from slightly bigger perspective, from a larger span, we realize that these things happen with human beings and such wars happen and so on. So like this, with the same thing when seen from different perspectives is seen differently. Now, when we are faced with a personal challenge in right now, I am facing some family issue or I am facing a financial crunch or whatever, at this point of time, I have to take charge and try to sort it out. But once I have passed through that financial crunch 10 years later, when I am in a more comfortable position, I can look back at that same event and say that, so many things, factors played out, and, this is what happened. And this, when we are careless with money, this is what happens. We can generalize and so forth. So I think it has to be seen from, different points of view from where. Like how the vantage point varies, the opinion also will vary. Of course, Dr. Sri Krishna can
No, that's true.
clarify.
There is always room for free will. It is not everything. Everything we talked about it, right? There is something inevitable. It will happen no matter what, and something it will not happen no matter what. And there is definitely a role for human beings. There's a free will. Um, it comes later in the chapter that I created, I gave all these things, I also did not do. Krishna says it kind of gives us free, like a little bit of a free will. We have our children, we control them a lot when they're young, and at some time we give them some, even when they are not ready to be free, we still give them some free will. Even in toy store, we give them free will, which one you want to buy. Like that, there is certain amount, and they, that kind is there. All the time it's there. So it's not
Maybe
everything.
Arjuna fought the wars before as Arjuna, as the body, mind, and the intellect. But maybe after the Gita, maybe Arjuna fought with a higher perspective, the Kurukshetra war. Possible.
Yeah.
The thing is, from the Mahabharata, we don't get that evidence because after the war, what happens is Arjuna will tell Krishna, "You had told me Bhagavad Gita
Yeah.
long back, but now I have forgotten.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
remind me
Yeah.
again?" So then Krishna gives him a piece of his mind. He says, I told this in a certain state of mind, and I cannot remember all
I
those
cannot
things.
remember. Yeah.
And he gives the Anugita. So basically for that period of time of fighting the war, little bit boost to start off, Krishna has given. Even
Yeah.
during the war, if you see, there are stages where he is kind of partial to Bhishma and Drona. He's not fighting with the full force. Then Krishna has to take that wheel and run towards
Yeah.
Bhishma. So
Yeah.
like this, even during the war, we see, and I think it's a very I mean, one is the story and the beauty of the epic, but also it's a fantastic representation of how we ordinary people behave. Arjuna can be seen as a wonderful representation because we all have our great moments. We behave with amazing nobility at times, and sometimes we behave so foolishly. So in that sense, when we take it as a metaphor also, it's very beautiful.
Mhm.
I know. I mean, it's
Thank
very
you.
difficult to explain because as someone gave an analogy, if a doll made of sugar, it says, I mean, it can have sugar, but then when it goes into the water, then it doll cannot come back
Mm.
and explain what it is like. It cannot just come back. It is now one with the whole ocean or one with the whole water. So maybe that's the true with the gnanis. They cannot just come back and then say what the state is, except they say that is bliss. That's it.
Yeah, one of the works, I think Narada Bhakti Sutra or somewhere, it's like he uses the analogy of a deaf mute person eating a beautiful meal. And after that meal, he can't speak, so he cannot tell you how the meal was,
Yeah,
but he has had the
Mm.
experience of having a
yeah,
remarkable meal. So
yeah,
something like that
yeah.
happens
Right,
also with people.
right.
We experience that, we may not be able to say that. Anyway,
Yeah.
could. So we will continue tomorrow, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll start
Fine.
tomorrow. Okay. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, yato dharma tata krishna, yata krishna tato jayah. Okay.